Hello and welcome to Engineering Deathmatch. We're here for a very special episode. We're filming at Cisco Live, and we're going to be having a contest doing design work on the Cisco Spark Board. So let's go ahead and get started and introduce our contestants. Up first is Jody Lemoine. Come on up, Jody. So Jody, tell me a little bit about yourself.
I'm an independent consultant working out of the Niagara region of Canada. Most of my customers are other IT firms that occasionally need to bring in a networking specialist to take care of things. So I see a little of everything week by week.
So do you think that prepares you specially for this design type contest?
Well, it might prepare me to come up with some alternate solutions that might look like they might have been developed on crack. But other than that, I think I've got as much advantage as anyone else.
Developing on crack, you heard it here first. Up next, we've got Brad Edgeworth. Brad, come on up. So Brad, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a network engineer at heart. Got tired of system administration just because I can back stuff up on a USB flash. I write books for Cisco Press, and I'm in sales for Cisco itself. So sometimes they tell the truth, so let's see if I can back up my technical knowledge with that.
So you could feasibly say that you kind of wrote the book on network design. Is that accurate?
No, I did not.
Good choice. I was going to get you for that later. All right, so let's talk about our scenario here. Now, unlike most other episodes that we've done in the past, our contestants have gotten a preview of the challenge, not the whole thing, but a preview of it last night. So hopefully they've used their time to review it. And you'll see that it starts with a fictitious company, ABC. I'm going to take that to mean that it's some sort of black ops company that does things like kill puppies in people's neighbors' yards or something like that. They're looking to improve resilience of the corporate WAN by integrating an internet-based solution. They've got a ton of requirements here, and I invite you guys to go up to the Engineering Deathmatch website to check out the requirements. These guys are going to have to present to a panel of judges, and so we're just going to go ahead and get going, all right? All right. This episode is sponsored by Cisco Spark. To learn more about how Cisco Spark enables team collaboration, including messaging, whiteboarding, video, and more, go to ciscospark.com. All whiteboard drawings in this episode were created using the Cisco Spark Board. Judges, are you ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
Contestants, are you ready?
I'm ready.
On your mark, get set, go.
Okay, so customers got this basic scenario. They have two routers that they're dealing with in their data center, one of which is internet connected, one of which is MPLS layer 3 VPN connected. LPS, MPLS. Acronyms. Okay, this is going out to branches. Roughly 2/3 of the branches are dual connected. I'll use 3 routers as an example. Well, B2, B3. So this one will only be internet connected. These guys will be dual connected. Okay. Now, they have multicast traffic coming from hosts on this network. A few different ones. They're on dynamic addresses. Call it broadcast source. Right. So, broadcast source. Okay, so customer has a situation where they want to have integrity of data all the way through so no one's messing with it. They're as yet undecided whether they're going to be using an internet connection for that or the existing MPLS layer 3. So my design incorporates possibilities for both. You can always rip a piece out if it's not needed, but it incorporates both.
Well, I think the challenge is definitely one of those ones that look simple on the surface, and then when you look at some of the requirements, you see that they just don't fit with the technologies in use. And so grafting those business cases onto the technology in such a way that it's going to play is going to be a challenge.
So one of the questions is what do you want to use for phases of DNVPN? So we have phase 1 DNVPN, which is a spoke, hub, spoke type of topology. Or you go with phase 2 or phase 3, which allows you to actually have spoke-to-spoke communication. There is nothing in the document about phase spoke-to-spoke communication. However, I would go ahead and enable it just so you don't have to do it when they decide to change that or they want to reap those benefits later on. You can always make some changes through how you do your route patrol, but you don't have to re-provision your tunnel. So that goes to, what do you want, phase 2 or do you want phase 3? Phase 2 is based off of Ceph process switching, and you're not allowed summarization because of the way it actually interacts. With phase 3, we have NHP redirects and shortcuts, which actually injects directly with the routing table, and that is the more preferred method because you can then do summarization.
So which phase of the 1, 2, 3 did you want to go with, or is it just?
I want to go with phase 3.
Okay, so from what you were saying, they, one would fit it now, but it's kind of best design would be go with 2, 3.
It goes to, yes, there's no real cost, right, to deploy phase 3, so I would go ahead and configure phase 3. So if and when those requirements change, they can have that, right? So that's the direction I would take that.
Data.
It's broadcast video.
That was a quick answer.
Straight to the point.
You go into some detail on that?
Well, multimedia streaming is coming from a file source. You're assuming quick access to everything. It's now. Whereas your live broadcasts don't have as controlled a source. Okay? Low latency queuing, that needs to be reserved for the voice, because a little bit of video, we can handle some artifacts here and there. Voice dropping, especially when they're doing things like help desk calls, not cool. And high throughput data, no, because the others are still going to trump it.
It talks about that this actually is capable of doing streaming, but we'll assume that it's not. One of the things I could do is I can actually turn on a feature that could take a broadcast function, off of that, and flip it into a multicast stream, right? So that as it comes down here, and then I could flip it back into a broadcast if I wanted to. That's one option I could do.
What's that feature called? I didn't know it. So that's why
I'd have to have access to the internet to figure that one out. But that's the way you can do that. Or the other option is I'm just going to use multimedia streaming, which generally implies you're using multicast. Now, there is a content about making this content available on a website for customers to access. So if you're going to do that, right, the internet doesn't really allow streaming per se with true multicast. That becomes a one-to-many context. So in that case, I might actually hire a service like Akamai to host that video and push it one time into it, and then it replicates into the cloud. And then that's a geographic service. So if a user's in Japan, it pushes out of a server in Japan. If a guy's in Texas, he's out of Texas. And if he's out of Arkansas, like some people I know, I'm not going to offend them, but it could be something along that line. So that would be the way that I would handle the actual service to the users externally that might want to attend, and then internally would be a multicast stream.
Me personally, I would say Jody got this one.
He was dead on. That was the immediate answer we got out of him. There was no hesitation, and
exactly. So I think that's a one for Jody personally.
Yep.
Well, you'd use DNVPN or the FlexVPN equivalent, really, with an IPsec AH transform, because you don't need ESP for this application. Unless you're talking about, are we adding in the data security requirement, or are we still staying with the multicast?
So let's do both. Let's do it first without the data.
Oh, you know what? The data requirement is only over the internet. Exactly. So we can get away with an IPsec AH transform because we don't care about the encryption. We only care about the integrity. So DNVPN brings all of the hubs back, or brings all of the spokes back to the hub. We could use the FlexVPN equivalent and have the same benefit and something a little more flexible, but it's the same technology essentially. But the key bit is DNVPN and IPsec AH transforms.
Awesome. All right. I think we're on our last question now.
Okay.
So question 10, the customer has chosen a DNVPN plus IPsec ESP overlay atop MPLS after reading some blogs online about it being the most popular choice.
Yes.
What comment would you offer after being told about this decision? Do you want to just have a comment first?
Sure, I'll give a comment. The biggest comment I'd have is that the ESP requirement, or ESP is not a requirement. It puts additional load on the routers. Well, it puts additional load on the router's co-processors because they're processing encryption. Admittedly, it's done in hardware, but it's unnecessary because encryption's not a business requirement here.
I would probably say DNVPN tunnel protection with ESP plus AA, with ESP AH is overkill. Or if you really want to do it, you can do GetVPN. Now, so the way that GetVPN works, and I'm going to add, we ran out of colors. So the way that GetVPN works is you actually have a key server, right? And then you have this is where your policies are configured, and then you have an edge node and an edge node for all intents and purposes. So any of the traffic that comes across that matches the specified in the ACL is actually going to be encrypted, and then as it comes across, it's decrypted. So you can be selective. For example, there's no need to re-encrypt SSH because it's already encrypted. However, you can encrypt Telnet by going through that, and that basically goes back to in your actual ACL that's specified there, you say, I'm going to encrypt my Telnet. There's no need to encrypt my SSH. That's another way to do that, but I probably wouldn't do it. I would just keep it in the DNVPN tunnel and be done with it. So
you'd encrypt everything?
With DNVPN, you encrypt everything, right? And that also gives you privacy over there, but this is talking about the MPLS side.
Yep.
But GetVPN, again, it goes back to consistency, right? I mean, if you're going to do it, because if you were going to do GetVPN and traffic had to flow across the internet, you're still going to have a form of selective where you may not be doing that. I would just let the DNVPN tunnels do the encryption.
Okay.
Simplifies your operations.
If you were doing GetVPN, where would you put the key server?
The key server, I would probably put it in the first primary DC.
Where you have it now?
Where I have it right now, and then from there, and generally I think you can have multiple key servers, so maybe you have a backup key server for connectivity, but I haven't done a lot professionally with GetVPN, but the concept is that.
Yep. Awesome.
So in the question we have to pick two. Sounds like GetVPN's obviously
I would do GetVPN plus DNVPN with IPsec tunnel protection. Because I'd like to be explicit.
Okay. So G&H for that.
I would just say it provides you consistent overhead calculations as far as that's concerned, which also then goes back to why I wouldn't use GetVPN. Because your Telnet traffic requires additional overhead, your SSH doesn't. And it goes back to my point about consistency.
So looking at 9, I have G and H here, which for Brad would be DMVPN and GetVPN. And Jody called out the AH transform on that. And I have to give it to him for that. Because
what was the answer in the... just curious if anyone got it right.
I believe Jody did have that one, which would be B and H.
So yeah, definitely. I think Jody got that one then.
And I think it's the point of he called out exactly that the payload did not need encryption, and he highlighted that.
Knew
and
it,
he went
too.
to it like 3 times.
Yep.
So between that and the other when we talked about it earlier. So
there's that. So we got 10 here. Now if Brad gets it, then it's kind of a tie again. So
and this one's going to be tough. I think looking at 9, 10 kind of builds off of that.
Yeah, it's kind of a follow-on.
Yeah, and Jody made the point in 9 that encryption was not a requirement. That was his answer for 10. So if we're going to give him 9,
we kind of got to give him 10.
The same
What's
to
the
give
right
him 10.
answer for 10? If you don't mind me.
Yep.
I agree with you. I just was curious if that was the right answer for 10.
Yeah, let me open it back up. So 10, Jody did have that correct as well. So that would...
I have to agree with that too. So I think that that sums it up for us.
Yep, we did have obviously multiple washes in there where they both kind of highlighted the same point, had the same exact answer. But when it came down to it, it looks like we have a scoreboard of 4-2.
4-2 for
on our
Jody,
other points.
right? So
that would be Jody with the win.
Yeah, congrats, Jody.
So let's go ahead and get started, and I'm going to start over because I need to make sure I pronounce you guys' names right. Stay where you guys are, all right?